Hi, my name's Patty Macaluso, and I am doing my senior project on nursing and the work environment of a nurse and how it affects the nurse. So I chose this topic because I want to be a nurse one day, so I figured I would get some background knowledge about my topic. And it's also a career that's high in demand, so I want to know if it's so high in demand, why aren't people trying to go out and get that job? So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I figured that it could possibly be the environment of a nurse, because it's just a hard environment to work in. It's very stressful and straining. So that's what I will be going in depth into. My topic in detail. The environment of a nurse can be kind of depressing. It can be stressful and sad because patients are just always sick and they could be dying and stuff like that. It could just take a lot out on a nurse because they're always around people like that. And there's a lot of physical strain. A lot of nurses that I met have a lot of back issues, or they have a lot of hip problems just from all of the work that they do. And it's also kind of emotional and psychologically straining because just the constant sadness and just things are always changing for bad too. Okay, so my research was done in a hospital and a nursing home because I have a class in high school that's for nursing, and we do our clinical hours in a hospital and in a nursing home. So I chose this topic because it would give me an idea of what it would be like to really be a nurse. So yeah. And it also gave me some kind of understanding about what I would be getting into in the future. And my next thing is what my research involved. When I was writing my paper, I looked through books and everything, and books were helpful for things like just general knowledge. What does a nurse usually do every day? They give medication, stuff like that. Books also gave me statistics and data that, most people don't know off the top of their head. And that was just good for writing my paper. My mentor gave me insight about what actually happens. My mentor was my nursing teacher, and she gave me a lot of insight about what a nurse actually does and what actually happens when you're a nurse, because she used to be a nurse before she was a teacher. My personal experience helped me most because I knew on a personal level of what my topic was. I could personally relate to my research, so I understood what a nurse's environment was like because I was actually in it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is my practicum, and my practicum was very helpful because I learned so much, and I was actually there doing what a nurse would do. So I also learned that being a nurse takes a very strong, stable person. Not just anybody can be a nurse. It's a very special type of person has to be a nurse. Nurses also have to be compassionate, and they have to be considerate because of the people that they deal with. They have to deal with patients who usually not their best because they're sick and they don't want to talk to people. They usually have a very negative state of mind, and the nurse has to bring them back to their positive. And nurses also have to deal with patients' families who can be kind of a hassle at times, so they just have to kind of be the sunshine to their day. Another thing is the work environment's kind of brutal sometimes. Like, it's just always physically straining, and things are constantly changing. You know, one second your patient can be okay, the next second they might not be. So, the next thing I'm going to talk about is my product. I chose a scrapbook to make, and, well, okay. I decided to make a scrapbook because I thought it would be creative and interesting. It would be a good idea of what I actually do when I have clinicals, so it was a good representation of what I would be doing, and it could be a hassle at times because of the limitations I had, and I'm going to talk about that next. Okay. The obstacles I had with my senior project, mostly in my product, was that I couldn't have pictures of patients in it, which is difficult because when you're at a hospital there are patients everywhere. In every room there's a patient. And I couldn't have pictures of staff, which is difficult too because staff is everywhere. And there weren't a lot of other places that I could go. So for one of my pictures I was in the supply room. You know, it's kind of hard to get creative with that after a while. And my mentor had to take all of my pictures because nobody else was allowed to do it, so another obstacle was just gotta follow the rules, do whatever the facility says, and it's gonna be okay. So for my failures, I would say that, well, my product really wasn't a failure, but I wasn't the happiest about it. I thought that I could do better. It wasn't really, my idea of it was a lot better than what actually came out. I didn't feel like it was in-depth enough. I felt like it needed more when I finished it. But there was also good parts to my project too. So for my successes, I put my practicum. I'm very proud of my practicum because I learned so much and I work so hard on everything. My practicum gave me a good idea of what I'd be like, so what my life would be like one day, so I figured that would be a good success for me. Next thing is what I learned. I learned a lot about my topic, and I learned a lot about myself as well. I learned that the environment of a nurse can be kind of stressful. It can be a lot to handle, but you just gotta have the right mindset and just go out and do it. You have to be the type of person that won't let anything stop them. Only the strong survive. I think that's a very important thought for a nurse. It describes them very well because nurses always have to be strong. They always have to have it together. You can't just fall apart, you know? You just always have to go out and do it. And there's actually a time when I was doing clinicals and I had a patient and she was perfectly okay talking, laughing, joking. I told her, you can have your breakfast now, stuff like that, and she was okay, so I left her. 10 minutes later, a nurse walks into her room. She has to call a code because she's having a stroke. Like, things like that, you just never know what's going to happen. So you always have to be ready and prepared and have to be ready to save some lives. I thought that nursing was a good fit for me, even though the environment can be a lot to handle. I like that it was always changing. It was something that I wouldn't get bored with. It's not like I would be sitting at a desk doing paperwork all the time. I knew that every day could be a different day. Basically, it would be the same, but it's different too. Because there's always different people. You never really know what you're going to have next. Okay, next is what the judges should know. The judges should know I had a good experience with this, with my senior project. It taught me a lot. there's no more doubt about what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know that I want to be a nurse one day. I know that even though the environment is tough and it could affect me a lot in a personal way, I know that that doesn't matter to me. What I'm doing is good for me, and I thought that my senior project helped a lot with that. Now I definitely know what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I'm very confident about that. So, I like to say that I'm prepared for my future now, and I want to thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, let me know. But thank you. Have a nice day.